In the world of fighting, boxing, wrestling, and all competitive sports, there are what they call the rules of engagement, because even they realize that an altercation cannot be meaningful if there are no rules for the opponents to follow. Likewise, in any relationship, not least of all the husband-wife relationship, fights are bound to break out from time to time. I'm not talking about fisticuffs, no. I'm talking about what you might call passionate disagreements. When faced with these unpleasant situations, what are the rules of engagement? How do you fight fair? Number 1, know when to fight. This is something that doesn't come naturally to most people and will need to be learned over time. As you grow in your relationship, take cognizance of your partner's thinking, actions, and reactions. A tip: whatever you do, don't fight in public. Still on the subject of knowing when to fight, don't take your frustrations to a friend or relative, or worst of all, social media. Publicizing your fights is a recipe for disaster. If you're gonna talk to someone who is not your spouse, make sure it's a professional whose only interest is in helping you. Number 2, keep your cool. At the best of times, no one wants to listen to a raving lunatic. Raising your voice does not get your point across any more than shouting into a dead telephone can. If you need to, take time to cool off and ruminate on the situation. It's more productive to discuss things when you're calm. Pray about the problem, pray for your spouse, and pray for yourself and your part in the problem. You'd be surprised how helpful prayer can be. Number 3, don't interrupt. If you want to be heard, then extend the same courtesy to your spouse. Just like in a tennis match, if you could hit the ball on both sides of the court, then you'd be playing by yourself. So too in a heated exchange, if you interrupt, you're just talking to yourself. When you don't interrupt, you convey the unspoken message that you are trying to listen. Being heard is not the same as being listened to. You both want the other to listen, so listen. You'll understand your spouse's perspective and avoid misunderstandings based on your assumptions. Number 4, talk about the problem at hand. The quickest way to derail an argument is to bring up past issues. If you want to talk about past issues, then save that for a time when you are both getting along fine. Bringing up past offenses is a sign you are being defensive and do not really want to solve the current problem. Deal with issues as and when they come up. Also, listing your spouse's past transgressions is a sign you haven't forgiven them. And remember, forgiveness is an effective treatment for anger and resentment. Number 5, don't criticize. You're already arguing, so the situation is not ideal. Criticizing your spouse will most likely get them to be more defensive and less receptive to whatever you have to say, regardless of the legitimacy of your complaint. Criticizing is an attack on your spouse's character and breeds contempt. Talk about the issue without casting blame on your spouse. Spouses are more likely to open up to their part in a problem when they haven't been already judged to be guilty. As a rule, imagine the shoe was on the other foot and extend the same grace you would have liked to receive. Number 6, eliminate absolutes. In the heat of the moment, it's tempting to accuse your spouse of always doing this and never doing that. As frustrated as you may be, such exaggerations do not help your cause. Rather, if you must, use words like a lot or seldom. Absolutes are the tactics of a dirty fighter. No one never does anything, nor always does something. So be fair and imagine how you would feel if you were accused absolutely of a transgression. And number 7, apologize. If there's a problem in your relationship, it's never 100% one person's fault. The blame can always be shared. It may not be 50-50, but it's never 100-0. Take ownership of your part in the problem and apologize. However, as hard as saying I'm sorry is, it's not enough. Go a step further and say what you're sorry for. This will show your spouse that your request for forgiveness is sincere. And you will notice that a sincere apology has a calming effect on your spouse. In summary, to fight fair, you will need to 1. Know when to fight. 2. Keep your cool. 3. Don't interrupt. 4. Focus on the problem. 5. Don't criticize. 6. Eliminate absolutes. And 7. Apologize. Speaking on the challenges of fighting in relationships, John Gottman said it best when he said, "The culprit is not what you were fighting about, but how you were fighting." Fights will happen, that's a fact. The real problem or potential problem is how you fight. Approach a fight with the end in mind, because at the end of the day, you're on the same side. Either you both win or you both lose. Looking on the bright side, if you're fighting with your spouse, it means you both still care about each other and your relationship. The real problem would be when one or both of you cannot be bothered to even fight. So, take every fight as an opportunity to learn, to apologize, to forgive, and to grow together in your marriage.